I
don't know who's going to watch this video. They could be in America. So
I have so many Americanisms already because I went to a convent, and the convent of Notre Dame, and they were French Canadian nuns.
Yeah.
And so I was Zing and jelloing long, you know, in England. So I think so I pick it up very easily now. Obviously, have a lot of American customers, watch a lot of American YouTube tutorials. So I kind of, my son's always correcting me when I say things in the American way, like router. And he goes, it's a router. And I go, router.
What was I going to say? Yeah, I actually have more customers in America than I do in England, many more. And I have mostly Americans, then I would say Europe's second and Britain is third.
I'm 95% American, and then the UK, and then Australia, and then Europe and Asia.
Yeah, Australia we're still looking at from the point of view, particularly of books and things for Amazon. And,
yes. And now you're doing more digital. I think you'll see that increase even more now.
Yes, it should. Anyway, so our discussion today is our roundup of June, even though we're not quite at the end of June. It's a kind of, what have I learned? What have you taught me? And what have you learned? Because you've been kind of looking back at your business as well. And not just us, because we're in one sector of the business, but the whole digital business. It's worth talking about it for other people on your creative business as well, because there are a lot of other things that you can do. But back to us, because we're both miniaturists, so we've both been in the miniatures scene.
I think though, it doesn't matter. Digital is digital, isn't it? This is just kind of a model, because I have studied sort of digital marketing for the last couple of years, and I've been modeling people, not to a great extent because I'm just not that busy with it, but like Gary V, people that do digital marketing for whole other things, but the process applies. Doesn't matter whether you're a miniaturist or any other kind of artist or creator. That's the best thing, isn't it? It applies whatever you do.
You mentioned somebody.
Gary V, Gary Vaynerchuk.
Who's Gary V?
He's this totally energetic person in the States, although he wasn't born there. I think he was born in like Russia or the Ukraine, but came over with his parents. And he's just digital markets the rear end off of any process. So I've listened to his audio broadcasts and read his book, and he just knows the process. So
I'll just check him out.
Yeah, and he is the person years ago. He taught me two things. One of them is create one piece of content and you can use it time and time again in all different
yeah. That's
true.
A lot of people who are teaching, mentoring people in business, which in a way we're doing, do repeat that one over and over again, create one piece of content and sell it again and again.
And I don't do that enough. I know I don't do that enough myself. But the good thing is, as you're finding out now, once it's digital, you can just regurgitate it, resize it, do whatever you like with it, and create a book out of your photos and so on. So that was one thing that he taught me. And the second one is his book was named after this. He calls it Jab, 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 Right Hook.
Oh, I did read that book, but I haven't seen him in person, so I haven't really got the whole Gary V experience.
It's worth it. He's very good. So I'll just say for anyone that's listening, the Jab, 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 Right Hook, if you don't know about it, it's about give value, and then ask for a sale or an opportunity or feedback or a review. And the idea is that people just, are so warm to you by that point, they don't mind putting themselves out.
Yes, and it's not sort of manipulative either, because you are really giving value. You are really encouraging the people that you're working with, the future customers. You're giving them loads of inspiration, etc. And it's not like you're even thinking about the sale in that during that process, although obviously we are, because we all have to eat. But it just feels very natural for creative people to do it that way, to do it that giving way first.
Totally for me, because I don't do sales at all. I'm not a salesperson, so I just like to give value. So all my YouTube tutorials are free, but if someone then gets inspired or feels encouraged to buy the file, then they do.
Well, you've mentioned video, which is very timely, because I've just today decided that going on from the digital month, that next month will be video month. Cool. So I'm not giving up the digital, not it by any stretch of the imagination. I found it very enlightening and a very good move business-wise. I've still got a lot to learn, but I have to focus on something, and this will feed back into the digital as it does for you anyway.
Totally.
But yes, I think we're going to have video July coming up.
Good, because I could do with concentrating. I've got so much video content that I think I should regurgitate this into almost like an advertorial reel or something as well, because people just don't know, and you'll be the same. They don't realize the scope of everything that you do, and if you can get it in a punchy little short video, it's like it's interesting, and they get inspiration from watching it, and it's kind of sales, because they go, I didn't know you did that. So great. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too.
Yeah, you also probably need to repackage it as a sort of tutorial for people to watch at any time, which can be a digital product, in fact. Yeah. Because people aren't resistant to buying things that they've already seen at all. For example, I did a load of videos years ago, and then I noticed that a lot of people were copying my techniques onto YouTube. And I thought, oh, is this going to undermine what I do? So I thought, well, the only thing to do if you can't beat them is join them. And so I banged out all my videos for free on YouTube, and I found my sales went up.
Exactly.
Yeah, people aren't resistant to seeing something for free and then buying the entire box set sort of thing, rather so that they can have it when they want without the adverts and all that sort of thing. So yeah, it's good. And what you were saying about making one piece of content and recycling it, this is exactly what I've been doing this month, because I already had the boat design for 3D pen. I already had all the flower designs either already designed for the stencils, or they were things that I was wanting to design for the stencils anyway. So I was doing the shape, for example, the what's that one called? I can't remember which plant it is. I did the first lot of tropical plants, the prayer plants I'd already got, but the second lot was a caladium, called caladium, I don't know how you pronounce it. Those ones I hadn't done but wanted to do for the stencils. So I did them as a digital product first. Now I have to recombine it with it's got to have the veins and the colours, etc., for the stenciling for Fimo. But it's the same basic piece of work that I'm going to be reusing again.
Exactly, and so it means that I could now make one of your designs of my cricket, and I couldn't have done before. So it's just so makes so much sense, doesn't it? I always say it's like you're leaving money on the table if you're not doing that.
Yeah.
So it's very good practice. I can't wait to make your boat. I've got the things printed off here.
Excellent.
I'm looking forward to it.
It's incredibly strong as well, Lisa. It will. I'm convinced. Although I'm convinced, but I can't guarantee it. I'm convinced it'll float.
I bet it does. It will do. Because I'm going to do mine the brown craft board, I'm going to varnish it to make it look like one of those little old, I'm going to make it slightly smaller and make it like one of those little old fashioned proper wooden ones. I'll float it in the boating lake.
Well, make sure you cover it in enough daub, enough, what do they call that stuff they put on boats? Anyway, so what was I going to say? I don't know, I've lost my.
Do we do it? What have we learned? What have we learned this month?
Oh, yes, please, Lisa. Shall I go first? Because
Go first.
I've learned more than you because you already were doing it. I've actually written it down here, and I've filled in my workbook, because I've got a page that is filling in the gaps in your knowledge, and I've put a couple of things in my filling in the gaps in your knowledge to do sort of page. But yeah, I've learned, people's generosity in testing your work. I mean, you tested my work, but I also put together a little group of people from your group or from one of the other groups, where I asked them, do you have the cricket? Because I only have the silhouette. Would you test that it works on the cricket? I know it's belt and braces because it should.
Yeah.
But I did need to know, especially as I was working at the sort of sharp end, in that there were some things that even were a bit difficult, like because I'd done the boat on the laser and those little dots were a little bit awkward, but they did still place where things were. So I thought we kind of got away with that. But with flowers, 12 scale flowers are so small.
They are.
That we're working at the furthest end. But on the silhouette, those long branches of leaves, which save the miniaturists who want to stick individual leaves up all that time. You've got a dozen leaves instead of one in one. And that was a lot of fun doing that. And that was we'd already done the individual leaf shapes. So I learned that I could move things forward a lot for people. But yeah, the people's generosity thing. I've also got probably charging too little, which you agreed with when I told you. Yeah.
But also it's that thing of, it's good to start low and get some feedback and get some reviews and then start increasing. So, that's a good thing in itself. Yeah,
that's what I decided. With a couple of them, I thought, not that they weren't good value, they are good value. I think if you want to make those particular plants, that you want that, and they're just like a couple of dollars. Yeah. So it's nothing for somebody who wants that particular shape, and it just saves them that much time. But yes, I think I've started a bit low, and I could certainly go up another $1. Because when you look at, we'd spent on each project at least an 8-hour day each on each project. And when you look at that, that means at those sorts of prices, you have to sell a couple of hundred.
But now, you will.
Yeah, so that's not that easy when you're new into the thing. So you've got to ramp it up a bit. So I learned that maybe, yes, charge a low price for a couple of days or a week or two, but then put them up to a ticking over price, I think.
Or bundle them so people feel they're getting value for money, and you've only got one lot of PayPal transaction or one Etsy fee. That's another way around it, isn't it?
Yeah, but I don't mind doing things separately and bundled. Yeah. It's a bit like books. You can buy books separately and bundled on Kindle, which of course is a digital product, because we're not. Digital products aren't just Etsy. I learned that I need to open my market up from miniatures, because there are so many other people who can use my flowers, etc.
Yeah.
The card makers, the sticker makers, that can all, even the other people who could go on with their crickets or their silhouettes to use my shapes with their stickers in or whatever, that kind of. So I need to look at opening the market, and I haven't done that. I think that's on my fill the gap. I haven't put that in yet. And selling files doesn't undermine your core business. these are different customers with different needs.
Totally.
I've got a separate list of what I didn't learn, but I'd love to know if you learned anything from this month.
Well, yeah, so definitely, because I followed your June digital sort of calendar prompt, I'm not very good at those sorts of things. So I made a good effort, and I posted quite a number of the days, more so than I normally would.
Yeah.
And I had up to it's the 25th today, isn't it? I think so. Up to today, I've reached 249% more accounts on Instagram.
Wow.
And I've had 16.2% increase in interactions. So I reached a lot more accounts, and then a percentage of those started to sort of interact back with me. So they will be probably more the customers rather than just the unrelated, oh, that looks nice, give it a like thing. So that was really interesting.
So that's the important number, is the people who interacted, really, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. But those people who've seen your stuff and you've reached, more of them will filter through, the more of your work that they see, I guess.
Yeah, and that's my second point, is the more that you put in and post, the more you're going to get, and the more consistently you do that, the more consistent growth that you'll get. So if I did that again, I'm in July, I think my figures would grow again, and that, you know, that shows you do get kind of an exponential curve, and I'm not very good at that, but it definitely is something to, I think, bear in mind if you can. Is consistency.
Yeah. One of the things that has occurred to me with what you've just said is about Etsy, because people complain about Etsy fees, because they say, oh, Etsy doesn't get me any sales. And this is something that really quickly came through from what you said to me at our last chat, was you don't just put your stuff on Etsy and expect it to sell. Etsy is only the platform, although they do have some sales techniques for you, but it's if you think of that they will do it for you, then you're wrong. What they do for you is make the whole thing easier. So you have to increase your position on places like Instagram. And so what I didn't learn to do was I didn't do enough Instagram, and I still don't understand it well enough. And I'll probably be picking your brains for the next month as well, Lisa. I don't know how you find these figures, etc.
Oh, okay. I certainly just stumble my way through it as well. I am no expert on that, but I've just probably just been using it longer, and you'll get more fluent with it. It's luckily it's not too, I find it quite user friendly.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I'll shall I finish down through my list?
Yeah.
I found it easy to post every day because there was a prompt.
Yeah.
So if you, and I'm not a planner in advance, but if you can be a planner in advance, or at least find these prompts, and there are people that you've mentioned before as well, where they'll do you a free marketing webinar or free social media prompt sheet. Just grab them all and make up your own, because when you've got something in front of you that sparks, you know, your thought process, it's so much easier than sitting there going, what am I doing today, and what's anybody going to be interested in posting about? So and there were a couple of days where it didn't talk to me, and I was like, I don't know what to do, so I did nothing, or I just borrowed one that I'd missed previously. So it was very good.
I really had to dig a lot for mine, and find connections that were a bit tenuous, but I have to mention that Lisa was the one who said to me on the last day of last month, why don't you? And I was stuck with thinking up the themes in no time flat, and I wasn't very careful about how I'd put the themes together. It just thought, oh, this is this sounds like a good idea. And they weren't necessarily easy to find my way into. Did anybody else use that at all though this month?
I didn't see anyone, but that's not the point. The point is that you did it, and you've got one now you could do again next year, or you've got one that you can improve on, and next year, you know, you might have more people doing it. It's just that.
But it was a great idea. It was a great idea, and it did remind me not only to post, but reminded me of my theme that month. And themes seem to work for me. And I know you're a bit reserved about them in some respects, because you're getting to, you're younger than me by quite a long way, but even you are getting to the stage in life where you don't really want the self-discipline. But I have never had self-discipline.
Well, I haven't really. I just pretended for a while.
Yeah, I've never had any imposed discipline either, to be honest, Lisa. So I find that just focuses me really, really well. And it certainly focused me for the digital thing, because if you're in an area that you're not comfortable with, which I was, it wasn't my area, but you know it's a good idea, having a month to giving yourself a month to get to grips with it, it's really focusing, and I found it really excellent.
And then look at, you've already got a really good base of files now on Etsy, and then you'll just grow from that. And I started with one file, as I said last time. That's all you need is one, and then you can go.
It's like learning music on a guitar. You only need one song. You can bore everybody with that endlessly for a while, and then you can add another one. And then by the time you've got 10 songs, you're a musician.
Yeah. So the fourth thing I learned was actually seeing you learning and helping where I could, and then you asking questions always makes, when someone asks you a question, isn't it? That's when you learn yourself. So that was a good process.
And it triggers ideas as well, doesn't it?
Well, yes. And I'd already, when you started doing you were doing your files in both 6th and 12th. And I'd already, as I said to you this morning, mentioned that to Rod previously. Yeah. And he was like, that's a waste of time because an SVG is scalable. Well, we all know that, but the customer doesn't necessarily. So,
and you're bringing in just the word Barbie or the word 6 scale brings in a new audience. If you don't use it, they'll never see you, because they'll look at it and go, oh, but that's for Doll's House. That's not the scale I work in.
Yeah, so you've got to sell them what they're looking for. Yeah. So Rod's taken that on board. So it was just good watching you do things and then thinking, actually, you know, that's something we've thought about, and you know, so we'll try that and see if it works. If it doesn't,
I mean, we have to assume zero knowledge in the people we sell to, who, because it's still quite a new thing. The cricket, I know the card makers have been using it for a long time, but our customers haven't, and we've got to assume zero knowledge, and that people will start out wanting to buy our things ready for them to simply put in and zip out. And that's why we had a slight disagreement, didn't we, Lisa, about whether we should make up pages for people to cut from. And eventually I got Frank to do both. There's the base file, and then there's this, I believe that's what he's done, but I've never seen the files. And then there's it's like a serving suggestion. This is a layout that they'll work on, and they'll cut, and they won't be too close together, and they won't be too far apart. And so I've opted to do both, because we need to assume that some of the people that we're selling to are busy and don't really want to, don't know, it's computery stuff, and they don't really necessarily want to take this from here and put it there and that sort of thing. Those who want to can, but those who don't can have it done for them. So, and it doesn't cost us any more to provide them with that. As far as working time, it's maybe half an hour of Frank's work,
Yeah.
to provide something just additional for them. So I think I won that argument with Frank, at least, maybe not with you.
I mean, I'll just do it basic, and then they can just do however many copies they want, and the machine sorts it. So,
well, I don't really know how that works, and I know that there are some people who have concerns about the Cricut putting things in the wrong place. I don't know. I mean, I know you've got this sort of little square in the corner that helps, that says how big things should be. But
yeah, I think that's the difference, because our audience, we've kind of grown them and hopefully try to educate them with our files, as if you know what I mean. So I've kind of got our way of doing it, which is in all our tutorials. So everyone's they're expecting the green square. Now that's just something we did, but everyone thinks that's a standard.
Well, no, I mean, we've learned from you to do that. What I feel is happening here is you've grown your audience organically, and I'm doing something a bit different, which is no better, no worse, but it's different, and it will add to the thing, I think. And that is bringing people in who've never thought about using them.
And I'm never going to be a flower person. I can't make more than one of anything. So you know, we all need different. We need all the different genres.
Yeah. I think I'm quite good at, I don't think of myself as a salesperson, but I think I'm quite good at sales because, and I think you are better than you think, because I get so passionate about what I'm doing that I'm such a problem solver that I can look at somebody else's problem and say, why don't you do it on this or in this? And you do that as well. So you are a salesperson. But
I think I like to help people. I think that's the only way anyone can ever sell to me is if
that is sales.
Yeah, but I have to, no one can sell something to me unless I already know I want it, because otherwise it's a waste of time. So I think
but if somebody knows what your problem is and they can solve it, then they will sell to you. And that's a sales technique, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's where because I'm a proactive person, I've identified it myself and I'm looking. So if I'm not looking, they won't sell to me. So I think that's why I kind of like to show my videos first, so that it almost says, if you're having this problem, then this is the solution. And they didn't even realize they didn't have
it. But that's sales. But that's sales, Lisa. That is a sale. That is a perfectly used good sales technique. And in fact, those people who do sell to you are using. They are identifying you as the sort of person who, if you're inspired by something, you're out there looking, but they know that they know that they've got to show that their product to you, who is looking for that product. So there are different types of customers, but there are also different types of sales techniques to match those customers. So at the moment, I'm looking at people who don't have machines, and we talked about this morning very briefly, didn't we? That we shouldn't diss the other person's machine, sort of thing, because the Cricut is a fantastic machine with capabilities that certainly the silhouettes that I've tried haven't got. I think the newer ones may have, but there is one in the middle that was an absolute dog. But the silhouette that we use, which is just an old Cameo, is a perfectly adequate machine, and we bought it secondhand. And there are a lot of people who are selling machines to upgrade. So I'm out there finding people really who haven't even got machines yet, who don't realize that they can get their first foot on the ladder without having £300. They can buy a second-hand one from somebody who's upgraded, and they can play around for a while until they know that what they really need is something that cuts thicker. And working with paper myself rather than card mostly, those are the people that I'm looking for, those customers, the floral stuff. rather than, I don't think I will ever get into furniture at all. It's just not my area of interest.
Well, you've got your laser cutter anyway, for something like the boat, or if you did want to make something bigger, you can just use your laser cutter anyway for the same file.
Exactly. And as long as it works on the Cricut, then we, you know, if we know it works on the Cricut, we can still sell to the Cricut people. But yeah, I think that this next month I'll be out there finding customers, really, or out there, not so much finding customers, but finding people who are interested enough in the subject of cutting these things, or people who are already cutting for card making or for wedding favors or that sort of thing, who can use my floral elements and botanical elements in there.
Certainly for the or any cutting thing, the oh, I'm getting some feedback now. That's weird. Can you hear me?
No, I heard that you've got a little glitch. Is your feedback from yourself or from me? Oh, is it you through mine? Do I have to go and get my? Do I have to go and get my headphones?
No, I'll carry on if you can't hear it, but that's just weird. It just suddenly clicked. Anyway, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, so the Cricut, sort of the angle that we accidentally came in on was wouldn't be cutting it by hand, and there's a lot of people that want to make furniture that haven't got the hand skills, or they've got repetitive strain or all kinds of things, but they still want to make miniatures. And seems to be a lot of people that almost feel some kind of guilt of taking the time out, or that miniatures aren't for them. So it's that finding also the roots, like you're saying, it might be an unrelated hobby at the minute, and then they think, oh, I didn't even think I could use my plant making, flower making skills in miniature. So that's a great way, isn't it?
And vice versa. So yeah, and we also need to remember that your creative business, although we are heavy on miniaturists at the moment, just because of who I am, also has, I mean, we're getting a lot more creatives coming in. I spoke to a lady, I think it was this morning or yesterday, who just wants to make stickers. She wants a print for, I guess, I don't know whether she's printing separately on vinyl and then just cutting out stickers, but we have people like that coming in. And we can all be inspired by each other's crafts. I found that in all those years that I've been working, I've found that the amount of crossover there is in creative crafts is enormous. I mean, your things could be cut as collapsible elements in cards, etc. Those sorts, I'm just, you know, thinking off the top of my head. So yeah,
I found accidentally, I didn't want to paint a piece of furniture, so I found transparent water slide paper that you could print on an inkjet. And I got totally addicted to that. And then you find people are doing that on mugs. It's the same thing, it's larger, but they can use the same picture and the same process. So it's amazing, you know, that's just one digital file can do all kinds of different things. So they could make a sticker out of it in the same way.
Have you thought of putting any of your images on something like Redbubble, on mugs and covers for things? And because they're very visually appealing, especially, and people like the sort of witchy thing, the spooky houses and all that sort of thing. Have you thought of?
I need to do that. That again, that's that using the same image and regurgitating it.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a Redbubble shop. It doesn't really make any money, but I haven't really concentrated on it. I did it just for the Your Creative Business book, just to see if it could be done. And I know artists do sell quite well through there, and I don't have very many images on there. But you know, it's just something, it costs you nothing. It's easy to do. And I know there's Naomi who spoke to us a few weeks ago. She's working with some t-shirt maker or something, and making her work on t-shirts, etc. So there are so many avenues to be explored by every single business. It doesn't have to be miniaturists, but even our work can appear on on full-size items for people.
Yeah, any media.
For hobbyists. I mean, if you're in the hobby of miniatures and you love Lisa Sones-Peck's work and you are her patron or whatever, and you want to have a mug with her work on your table, you know, that kind of thing is, you know, it's all extra merchandise, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and it's in any media merchandise as well, isn't it?
Yeah. So digital is not just cutting on machines at all. Anyway, let's go to what I didn't get round to doing. I didn't fully learn Insta, so I've put that on in the gaps in my knowledge. I've put learn to do Etsy myself, because Frank does it all, and I really should learn to upload my work. I mean, we do everything in case anything happens to me because he's younger, but we never think I really ought to know how to do these things in case. So, oh, and learn to do Insta Reels, which I mean, it sounds like hard work to me, but
I didn't find that. I found Insta Stories were much easier and more intuitive than Insta Reels, so I just gave up. So only to do what really flows for me.
Yeah. Do you do Facebook Stories? Did you say?
Insta Stories and then
Insta Stories. Yeah, I haven't seen that either. So I'll have to look at that. And the lady who's coming on, well, she'll have been on by the time this one goes. Oh, I don't know. She might be coming on, or she might just have been on. Who's very good on TikTok, very funny. She also does Facebook Stories, and she does them sequentially. So she'll have maybe 6 in a line. So she'll just carry on through. So she doesn't take any notice of the fact that it's got to be a certain length. Just bangs it through again, which is quite an interesting way of looking at it. So that's something I've got to learn. I've got to learn Insta properly.
Are you going on TikTok?
I'm not. Are you?
I'm on there, yeah.
Oh, right. Is that? I mean, when I look at it, I don't understand how to navigate these places. And I just see a load of rubbish, a load of people just doing long form selfies, really.
You can search, and then you just search for miniaturists, or you can search for whatever your thing is. And so there's quite a few miniaturists over on there now. So I tend to put a little bit more punchy things over there, or something that I don't show anywhere else, or I get a little bit more creative, because they allow you to use, and they have them on there, sounds, you know, like 30-second sound clips from pop songs, whereas you can't put them on Facebook and you can't put them on YouTube. You know, there's no license.
Allowed. Yes. Yeah.
Whereas you can on TikTok, and so you can actually, it's quite good fun to find a song that relates to the thing that you're doing, and try and get the rhythm. And
yeah,
you know,
I think Reels is based on TikTok, isn't it? I think.
Okay.
That's what they do. So I haven't done that. That's also gone on my to-do list, and in fact comes under the next month's thing.
They're little videos, aren't they? So like classes as a video.
Yes. Yeah. So and need to plug into more user groups. So people who do card craft, etc. I just need to reach out to these people, really. So I'll do it for you as well. I'll pull them in for you as well.
Thanks. I was going to say, because I don't do that. I'm so like, I don't do anything but miniatures. Otherwise, I'll go off down another rabbit hole. So I can't let myself do that.
No, but you can expand the things that you make for miniatures to a different brand of customer.
Yeah. Well, definitely 3D card makers. I know I have some customers. So
yeah, absolutely. That's what I was thinking. That would be good for you. Yeah. So that's the other things I didn't learn and do. I didn't look far enough into the other things that people can do with digital that is not to do with cutting machines and miniature.
And again, that's where you could almost do with someone full-time marketing on your behalf, isn't it? Looking at regurgitating the content, putting it everywhere, responding to all the comments and everything.
Yeah,
it could be a major part of your day.
Yeah, there's a girl in my group, I just spoke to her this morning, she calls her customer Busy Bee. And she's like a virtual assistant. And she offers this kind of assistance with social media. So, I mean, you don't have to have somebody full time. You can get somebody in on Fiverr or somebody like Busy Bee or whatever, and just pay them for so many hours helping you with this sort of work. And I guess if you are really, really busy producing digital content and you're enjoying it as well, which I've really enjoyed it this month, I've really enjoyed it. If you're that busy and it starts to become successful, it's crazy not to pull somebody else in to do the work that they're better at than you.
Yeah.
And, you know, not only they might be better at it, but it frees you to do more of what you're good at. And you know.
Totally. Rod and I, for a long time, have looked at the process, and if we know there's a bottleneck in our process, and that is the recording of and editing and production of the tutorials.
Excellent. So this month, Lisa,
Exactly.
I'll be following this month on your creative business as well.
If I could streamline that process, because we've got designs, we've got books of designs yet to be produced. We just can't get the flow through when we know where the bottleneck is.
That's my bottleneck as well. It's my bottleneck sales wise as well, that my stencils, people just need to know how to use them, and I just haven't got the videos out there, which is why, even though I want to carry on with what I'm doing and I'm enjoying it so much, I do have to refocus on the video side of my business now, because it's just becoming silly. I think that's a great thing, that if you identify the things that you want to learn and the things that you want to concentrate on and where the bottlenecks in your business are, you actually have a better time of it, don't you? Because you can set yourself a task that can become interesting in the process of doing it, like the 100-day things that I've done.
Carrot and stick works for me. So once I've got this latest tutorial out, which has taken me weeks to get round to doing, I'm allowed a bottle of gin or prosecco or something. That's what
that's excellent. The bottleneck bottle. You clear the bottleneck and you get the bottle. Yeah. Unfortunately, my stomach is in such a bad state at the moment. I'm not allowed any alcohol or any sugar or any chocolate or any tea or any coffee. So it's actually recovering at the moment, and you know, waiting for results on biopsies and stuff. But I'm just being really clean at the moment. So no gin for me.
Oh, you have to think of a different one.
Yeah. Well, actually, I've got some juniper berries. I might make some non-alcoholic gin. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, tonic. Yeah, steep them in some tonic or something.
That's a good idea. I'll do that. I'll crush them up and I'll get some tonic water. Yeah. Excellent. So, what else have we got to tell people?
I've just got one more thing on my list, and that was a fortnight ago we did a giveaway, one of our SVGs. No, it wasn't a fortnight, it was only a week ago, when we exchanged contracts on our house. And so to celebrate, I gave out the SVG, and it resulted in more sales. So that's another example of, don't be afraid to give something away, because then people think, oh, well, while I'm here downloading this, I wanted that file and technically it's half price because I got the other one for free or something, whatever their thought process is. So that's always a good way, is that giving something away doesn't mean less money for you, especially digital, because we had, I think, 200 people download that SVG for free. Yeah. But then so many of them bought something at the same time.
We did the same thing with my the Frugalist book and my Doll's House Flower Shop book. We had a day, we gave them away for Christmas, for 2 days over Christmas, we gave them away, and it resulted in more sales. And in fact, we're putting out a mail shot today about Digital June and what we've been doing for my mailing list. And it's the first full mail shot that I'll have done since I started collecting my mailing list, which was about a year ago.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to be giving away a file on that with that. In fact, what we might do is we might make it a file for anybody who's on my mailing list, and put that on Facebook for anybody who joins up with my mailing list.
Yeah, get them a sign up.
Sign up gift. So that's what we're doing this today, in fact. So
cool.
So right, so for anybody who's doing things that aren't miniatures, and I know we do leave you out a bit, but there are so many ways of repurposing your work digitally. You kind of just have to think of them. But if anybody's got any questions, what can I do? What can I do digitally? Just put them in the Your Creative Business group. I know this sometimes goes out on YouTube as well, but just go to the Your Creative Business group and put your questions on, because there's people in there who just want to help. They feed off your interest and inspiration as well. So we inspire each other. So if you've got, if you want help with what can I turn into a digital product, I know Lisa's brilliant with this, but I'm also quite good at problem solving, telling people what they ought to do. Much better at telling other people what they ought to do than doing it myself.
Yes, I've often said I really was destined in life to be Alan Sugar and Richard Branson, really, and have a team of people. If I could have a team of people, I would be running the world right now.
Yeah. Well, I was always destined to be an agony aunt.
Oh, yes.
So who was it? Somebody Rayner.
Claire Rayner.
Claire Rayner. I was probably destined to be the business Claire Rayner. I was probably destined, but never did it, to be a sort of businessy, mentoring sort of thing.
Well, that's the skills of running a household, isn't it? Problem solving, budgeting. Was what we've been doing.
I've never been good at budgeting, no. But I can tell people what their skills are quite easily. When I just get them to talk to me, and then I say, "Have you thought of doing this?" So I'm really good at that. I can find what people's métier is, what their the thing that they ought to do. If I shouldn't use the word ought, but the thing that they might really enjoy doing that would also bring them an income.
Well, I think because I'm a life coach, it's much easier to look at someone and see all of their potential, and people are so quick to damp it down in themselves. I think that's what I always describe myself, a bit like a mirror. I could just reflect back the real.
I didn't know you were a life coach.
You did?
No, I didn't know you were a life coach. Is that ongoing, or is that something that you used to do?
I first qualified, I did person-centered counselling, art therapy, and the psychology degree, and then life coaching 25 years ago now. So I started doing it long before it became fashionable, and I probably about 2 or 3 years ago now, actually when I stopped and started doing miniatures, that's when I kind of drew a line under that as a business.
But I can now tell, because you coach me so very well. So I can now it all makes sense. And we've talked about your book before, but your book, I've forgotten the title.
Love Yourself Back to Health.
Love Yourself Back to Health.
Yeah.
That now yes, that's a life coach type of
yeah,
book. I think that makes sense.
I think I did mention it in there, but I don't really go on about it. It's one of those things that people find you whenever they need me. They find, like Nanny McPhee, when you need me, I'm here, and when you don't, I go.
I don't know who Nanny McPhee is, but I'm sure
you should watch those films. They are really funny. Nanny McPhee.
Yeah, oh, will do. Right, so we'll draw this to an end. So this has been a very interesting digital month. I don't think we're finished by a long shot, but shall we get together and see what video month did for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for doing the digital month, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
Do we have to do it? Do I have to do something for? Can you help me with this? What to put on each day?
Yeah, I did. I gave you some last month. Maybe we'll swap
Yeah, you did.
Maybe we'll.
I've got a few more days this time. I only had a few hours last time, which was the difficulty.
I'll give it some thought, but maybe we'll do a different thing again. Doesn't have to be the same thing, does it?
No, it doesn't, does it? No. Thanks very much, Lisa.
Right.
Thanks for chatting with me. Have a good weekend. And I'm sure we'll carry on chatting offline anyway.
All right.
Take care now.
Bye.
Bye.